please subscribe, hit that like button, and as always, leave a comment, and thank you for enjoying the video.
I got the Boston Celtics going to the finals.
I got them winning without.
It's time to represent your city. Put your hands up. Cali, you know we do it for Boston. Hey, ain't nobody ballin' like Boston. Yeah, hey, ain't nobody do it like Boston. Where the legends get made, where the banners get raised, bright lights, big stage. Boston. All the fire we bring in a city full of rings, it's a beautiful thing out in Boston. And you ain't hard like that. You don't put it on the line with your squad like that. That's right, Boston. All we do is win like cigars in the gym, and we at it again. I say, Beantown, what's up? What's up? 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 Feel the energy shift. Now we jumping at the gym. Represent, showing out how we ball above the rim. Larry Legend, 86 to the truth in '08. Cement your name with the all-time greats. Still better 18 in the Raptors. Celtic green, only green that matters. It's about that time. Ain't another city that's louder than mine. Always gonna shine with the game on the line. What you think was gonna happen, man? That's how we do it in Boston. Ain't nobody gonna like Boston. Yeah. Ain't nobody do it like Boston.
Welcome to Dynasty Proud, episode 20, brought to you by BSEN, Boston Sports Entertainment Network. I am the Rit. With me is Alex. Alex, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Doing great, man. Getting all our players locked up long term. Ready? Look like we're ready to repeat and start a dynasty.
Yes, absolutely. And that is where we are going to be starting right now. Breaking news just moments ago. Bam! Jason Tatum and the Boston Celtics have reached an agreement on a 5-year supermax $315 million extension. Largest contract in NBA history. Alex, we all knew this was coming. When the haters gonna hate now?
Oh, they're gonna hate it. You look at the comments of all these. They're like, "Oh, holy overpay! All that money for a role player, couldn't even win Finals MVP." And it must suck to be them. Just hating on the Celtics. They hated us so much before we won, and now we won, and look like we're primed for a dynasty right now. We got our whole team locked up long term. We'll get into Derek White in a second. Drew Holiday signed the 4-year deal. Porzingis has 2 more years. Jaylen Brown's 5 additional years start this year. So for the next 4 years, we were just locked and loaded and ready to go. So, I mean, this is great. This is your star. He's been showing nothing but love to Boston as of late. And, we got this team, under lock now. So it's a great time to be a Celtics fan.
Absolutely. And you touched on it just a little bit ago. And we're going to be going right straight to the other breaking news we had earlier today with our man, Bam, Derek White. Everybody was like, how are the Celtics going to be able to afford this? Where's this money coming from? Well, it doesn't matter where it's coming from because we have got Derek White for 4 years, $125.9 million contract extension. Man, Alex, what does this mean that we initially have our entire championship team back for next season?
I mean, it's great. You saw what this team's capable of. They're a championship team. Not even caliber team anymore. They're a championship team. We get to bring the same core back. Everybody's locked up long term. Everybody knows their roles. It's amazing. And when you look at the Derek White signing specifically, he almost took a hometown discount on this. He's selfless. If you look at what people are getting in the market, he's making less this year than Tobias Harris. Let me say that again. He's making less than Tobias Harris is making this year. He's making less than OG Anunoby. He's making around the same money as Tyler Hero. And for a player that's probably one of the best, two-way guards in the league, probably the best shot blocking guard in the league. Offensively, he's hit big-time shots for us. He just does everything perfectly. He's humble. He's selfless. And very, very happy to have him here long-term. I think long-term, he's the 3rd most important player in this team after the Jays. So it's great to have him locked up because he really didn't need to sign this contract right now. If he went into free agency next summer, even if we brought him back, he could have gotten more money than this. Because this is actually him taking a cut. This is a max that we could have extended him for now, but he wanted to be here long term. Obviously, the Celtics wanted him long term. So just having the continuity of the team, everybody's signed long term. You don't have to worry about, okay, well, this player might be looking out the door, to see where else they can go, where else they can get the bag from. So it's just great to have everybody here. And, this is the team. So you see everybody else scrambling around. And I know we'll get to that in a minute to try to compete with us. But we have this team now. Everybody was like, well, where did we get the money from? Brad Stevens is smart. Last season was the last season you really could, start pushing all your chips in to acquire players. Because starting now, if you're over the second apron, you can't aggregate salaries in a trade. If you're over the second apron, I think multiple years in a row, your draft picks gets frozen to the end of the first round. But it's like, we don't need to make trades, And the thing is, all these contracts, like, I don't ever want to, but if we needed to move White, if we needed to move Holiday, Porzingis, Jalen, like, these are movable contracts and you can get pieces back, So you want to have the asset there. But, I mean, we got him under a very team-friendly deal for sure. So it's just thank you to Brad Stevens. Thank you to Wick Grosek and ownership, which we'll also get into as well, for, being able to pay, this team. Like, we're set. We have nothing else to worry about this summer. Everybody else can, scramble around to try to put together a team to compete with us. But we have the team right now, so everyone can go enjoy their summer.
Yeah, Alex, with this contract that White sit there and took, it kind of reminded me of, the Xander Bogaerts contract that he took when he played for the Red Sox before he left to go to San Diego. It was a very it was a very team-friendly contract. He took a huge pay cut to stay in Boston because he loved it there. It's the same thing with Derek White. He loves it here, and why? Why would you even try to go to another team to compete against this team when you can just stay here and keep winning championships repeatedly? And Alex, you and I have talked about this a couple times. I'm saying 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5 years, the ring's coming home. You know what I mean?
I think so as well. I don't think there's any reason we can't. And I think the big thing is I want to repeat next year, especially since it could be Al Horford's last year. He went back-to-back in college. I want to send him out going back-to-back in the pros. He finally got one. There's no reason we shouldn't get another. And we'll get into everything that needs to happen this season. I mean, Porzingis is going to be out 5-6 months now. I mean, a big part of that is the summer. So he'll miss November, some of December. Honestly, with him, hold off as long as you can. You don't need to rush him back to get him back, in beginning of December. Like, what's important for Porzingis is he's ready to go and in shape for the playoffs. And look what we did in the playoffs, mostly without him this year. We went 16-3 and dominated everybody. So you add Porzingis on top of that, it takes us to a whole other level. So ease him back in. The big thing is, like, you also don't want to burn out Horford in the meantime because you don't want him to play back-to-backs. You don't want him playing 35, 40 minutes a night during the regular season. So that's why it was important to keep Cornette. They're going to keep Neemias Queta. We'll see what they do with Tillman, or if, maybe you bring some other ring-chasing vet in, like a big on a minimum that can, spell some minutes during the regular season. But it doesn't even matter what seed we're in. First, second, third. If this team is healthy come playoff time, they're by far the team to beat.
Yeah, and the Celtics could easily do what a early Phoenix Suns could do. They could just run a small man lineup, when they want to give Horford the day off and just run your legs off up and down the court. Push that pace where most teams can't compete, up and down the court like that.
Put in Pritchard, Hauser. Like, these guys have proven themselves, not just offensively, and they're able to play in the ability, the flow of the offense, but defensively, they can hold their own as well. Like, they're no pushovers on defense. Like, so I think through a regular season, we're going to be completely fine. Like, even if Horford's, playing every other game and Porzingis needs to miss time. And I think not only when he comes back healthy, they're not going to just run him out on the ground and just have him play every game. Like, he's going to get days off. They're going to limit his minutes. Like, I think all these guys, and they've proven this, are past the point of caring about stats, caring about, like, I have to get mine. Like, it's team-centric. It's about winning. And the ultimate goal at the end of raising a banner, which they've done. And I feel like they'll continue to do this. And them all signing these contracts, like the first day of free agency, which means they're not like holding out for every last dollar. They're not like battling. Like, they want to be here. And I think they've all proven it, Like, Drew Holiday took a cut as well. Like, yeah, he's getting a lot of money long-term, but he actually reduced his salary for this past year, for this upcoming season, which will help with the cap as well. So I think everyone's bought in. They're all veterans on this team. They know what the bigger picture is, and they saw how special it was to win here, win in Boston that parade. I think they all want to do it again.
Yeah. But another like this was just Celtics news, bam, 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 left and right. You know, we know that the core will be here. The Jays, Porzingis, Drew Holiday. Next question, Alex, is ownership gonna be here? You know, I guess when the old saying, buy low, sell high. Man, you can't sell any higher after just winning your 18th banner. And now Celtics, ownership is talking about their take considerations, and the number one thing is, well, John Henry, he wants to get in that NBA game going.
Jesus Christ.
We do not want to sit there and see that for the Celtics, especially after this dynasty that was put together by this ownership team.
If you would have told me yesterday that a Boston sports owner was going to sell a team today, I would have been jumping for joy thinking, oh, God, John Henry finally came to his senses or was talking to his senses. But it's the one we don't want that's selling the team. Now, the initial reaction was to freak out because it's crazy. It came like minutes after everyone's on their Derek White euphoria. And then this news comes out. But it's like he's setting the future owner up for success. He's a fan of the team as well. I don't think he's just going to sell it to the highest bidder. I feel like he's going to be involved in the process, since he's going to stay as the governor until 2028. That's still 4 more years. That's a whole election cycle right there. So even if you're worried about, okay, down the road, whatever owner may want to put his imprints on it and save money, that's 4 more years away. We can still win 2-3 more titles in that time frame. Who knows what the landscape's going to look like by then? Maybe some billionaire like a Steve Ballmer or like one of those Saudi people will want to buy the team and just has money to play around with, and they want to keep it going. But even 4 years down the road, okay, maybe you don't have Al Horford anymore. Maybe you don't have Drew. Maybe you don't have Porzingis at that point. But I think the Jays will still be here. Derek White looks like he's invested long term, but I mean his contract was for 4 years. So like I said, 4 years a lot can change, but it shouldn't affect anything in the short term. So it's not like he just left us high and dry, and he got all these signings done prior to even really announcing it. So hats off to Brad Stevens, because he got all his summer Christmas shopping done in the first 24 hours. I made a joke on Twitter today that so did Pat Riley, because he was able to re-sign Kevin Love to the 2-year deal. So he's done for the offseason as well. He's going to go take a nap now. But, I mean, it is surprising because this is a complete 180 from Wick from like a week ago, where he's like, we have no interest in selling the team. He wants to run it back. I wish John Henry was just as disingenuous, and because he said the same thing as well. I wish he would just punt on that team as well. But it's a surprising move, but short term it doesn't affect us, and hopefully he's a part of the process and finding the new ownership group that is invested in the Celtics winning and not just the bottom line.
Yeah. Overall, he has interest in selling the team. Doesn't say he's going to. He'll take phone calls and stuff, but man, selling high, banner 18, like you said, Alex, 4 years from now, 19 and 20 could also be right there, and that would just put the Celtics into another category if they're actually able to win 3 out of the 5 years or 3 out of 4 years championships for selling. So, but let's dive into. I want to get some of your thoughts. I'm going to pull up some players that signed contracts around the league, and then we can talk about who possibly could put together a great super team to try to compete with the dynasty here. So, first person I want to sit there and bring up would be Klay Thompson. Is joining the Dallas Mavs on a 3-year, $50 million deal with the player option. Man, it's really different for me to sit there and say Klay Thompson is not a Golden State Warrior anymore. So adding him to Dallas with Kyrie and with Luka, does that really help them out there, or what are your thoughts, Alex?
I mean, I don't think it can hurt them. I think it's an addition. They didn't really lose anybody to get them. And they also, I believe, was it Najee Marshall that they got as well? Because they're going to lose Derrick Jones Jr. But I think the team's going to be just as good, if not better, next year. But I think other teams are improving as well. Now, Golden State, they look like they're taking a step down. So that might be heading in the other direction. But I mean, a shooter like that was a big problem for their team. Is like they really didn't have a lot of shooters. Like PJ Washington was streaky, and obviously Luke is great. Kyrie can be great, but like outside of that, they didn't have a lot of shooting. And you look at our team where it's like at all points we have 5 floor spacers on the floor. So I think it can definitely help them. He's not quite the same player he was, especially defensively, but he's still, he's still a great shooter. So you have to respect him. You have to defend him. And the more one-on-one opportunities you can create for a Luka, you can create for a Kyrie, I think it helps him a lot. So I think it's funny, though, because, like, LeBron was talking about, taking a pay cut to be able to lure in a star, whether it was a Paul George or a Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson's dad, who played for the Lakers, Michael Thompson, is also one of the radio guys for the Lakers. And even that couldn't draw him over to LA. So I think that's kind of funny. But I think it'll help Dallas for sure.
Yeah. Let's sit there and start talking about the Sixers. Okay. A lot of money get thrown around, a lot of new pieces coming in, but the Celtics have shown that it's not just throwing money around. You got to be able to play together. You got to be able to unite. So the first one we're going to sit there and talk about is Kelly. Alex,
Oubre.
help me. Oubre Jr. A 2-year, $16.3 million to stay with the Sixers. What does that do for the team? Because they also let's see here. Boom. Let's see. They also went out and got George. They also went and re-signed.
So they added Andre Drummond, who is a veteran. Like, he's a rim protector. He rebounds. He blocks. He's a big man. So that was a good move. They added Eric Gordon, who's a veteran, who's like a 3-point shooter. He could start. He should come off the bench. Kelly Oubre is a big one, keeping him because, he's a great I don't want to say great, but he's a good 3-and-D player. He's actually probably making less than he should make, and he's probably doing that to accommodate Paul George. But and then Paul George is the big one. I mean, that's a big signing for them. I mean, I think the ceiling is much higher for the Sixers right now with Embiid, Paul George, Tyrese Maxey. So, I mean, they look at their best like they could be the biggest threat in the East to the Celtics. But at their worst, their 2 best players are very injury-prone players that don't have a lot of playoff success. So to anybody crowning them over the Celtics, I think you're crazy. I think they could be a threat, of course, because, I mean, Paul George, he's not a top 10 player anymore. He's still a top 20 player. But, like, he's, an elite 3-and-D level player. You have Embiid, who was the MVP, who, when he was healthy last year, was playing at an MVP-type level. But there was a thing where they posted the big 3 of Embiid, Paul George, and Maxey. They're like, who's stopping them? And then someone put up, like, a picture of, like, a kneecap because, like, there's a lot of injury problems with those 2. So I'll have to see it before I believe it with Embiid and Paul George staying healthy for a full regular season and postseason. But, the ceiling is much higher on that team right now. They've definitely improved. So I think Philly is going to move up the ranks in the East. I don't know if you want to jump into it or not. We'll talk about the Knicks and the moves they've made.
Yeah, go ahead. We can sit there and talk about the Knicks right next.
Yeah, so the Knicks, they lost Hartenstein today, which actually is a big thing for them because he was a big-time rebounder for them, his little push shot that he got. But then Mikal Bridges, getting him over from Brooklyn, and they've now become the Nova Knicks, with 4 of their players having gone to Villanova and played on this team together. All they need to do is get rid of Thibodeau and bring in Jay Wright to coach the team, and it will basically be the Villanova Wildcats. But I think the league is moving. There was times like everyone was moving to 3-point shooters at first because of the Steph Curry and the Warriors areas. Like, that's how you had to compete. Now you have to have wings that can score and defend because of the Jays, because of Tatum and Brown. And so that's their counter to us, is getting Bridges. He's a long player, very good defender. He's a streaky scorer. He has big nights scoring, but I mean, he's not going to be in the level of like a Paul George or Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum. But I think he makes them more of a complete team. I honestly think they should get rid of Julius Randle. I don't think they need him. I don't think he makes them better. And I think whatever pieces they could get for him would probably fit the team better. Because if you saw with the Knicks last year, what they need is depth. Because Tibbs was running that team into the ground, and they literally had like no players left that could play by the end of Game 7 against Indy. So I think that's the move they should make. I think with Randle, their ceiling might be higher, but I don't know how he really fits into that dynamic. But I think the Knicks and Sixers both improved. I think Indy is going to be better, a year, further into their development with Halliburton and Siakam getting more accustomed. I think Orlando getting KCP was a good thing for them, for a young team to have, a 3-and-D type player. So I think all those teams are ascending. Milwaukee, it'll be interesting to see what they do, because otherwise they're just a year older. They're going to lose Beasley, and I don't think they're any better. I think they're worse. I think they could be 4th or 5th best team in the East right now. Miami's another one to look out for, because that team, like, that fluke run they had to the finals fooled a lot of people into thinking that's the team they were, when in reality, the team that they are is the team that finished 8th in the East and was a play-in team the last 2 years, and then watched all their competition get better. And then Pat Riley is just doing nothing because he likes his team. They didn't extend Jimmy Butler. They did extend Bam, but they lost what's his name to the Bucks. I'm trying to think of his name. I actually had a post about him a few months back, but they lost a role player off the bench to the Bucks. So right now they look like they're barely a play-in team, and that's like at their ceiling. That's if Jimmy Butler actually plays, if he's focused. So they can think they're going to make some miracle run as they just get in the playoffs with, playoff Jimmy, the 35-year-old ringless superstar. But I think that team's heading in the other direction. If you go out west,
were you talking about Delon Wright?
DeLon Wright, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That was the name that I was thinking of. I mean, he was a decent player, but I mean, he's a role player. So, I mean, maybe he'll help Milwaukee, but I think Miami's falling down the pecking order in the East, and I think they need to pick a path, because just, seeing how it goes isn't really a path, because you're going to lose Jimmy Butler for nothing next season, and the alternative is what? Signing a 35, soon to be 36-year-old next year long-term? Like, that can't be the path of the organization. So if you really want to compete, go trade Hero, go trade Jaquez, go trade some of these young guys, go get a third star to pair with Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo and make a run for it. Otherwise, if that's not what you're going to do, then you might as well trade Jimmy Butler and get assets for him and then try to rebuild around Bam Adebayo with, a player more on his timeline. So I think the Heat are the biggest losers of the offseason so far. We'll see what happens with the Bucks, but I think it's clear cut the Celtics are the best team in the East. I'd probably put tier 2 as like the Knicks and the Sixers, and then I'd have like Indy, Orlando, Milwaukee in the next tier. And I think Miami's right below that. Miami's ceiling, of course, could be higher, but like I don't trust that team right now. I don't think they're that good. And I think Heat fans for the first time are actually realizing it, that like this team is not good enough to compete. And if they don't make any moves, they're going to be in the same position they were last year. So, I mean, then you look at Brooklyn, you look at Atlanta, you look at Toronto. They're all tanking. We'll see what happens with Trae Young if he gets moved. One team I forgot, Cleveland. So still waiting on the Donovan Mitchell news. That's the other, domino to fall. Because if he stays there, then Miami's kind of SOL with like possible moves. If he stays there, I don't know. I mean, that team, they're a 4 or 5 seed the last 2 years. They could actually fall further down if they don't have either big internal growth from Evan Mobley or they don't make another move. But this is the Celtics conference for the taking as long as they're healthy, even with the moves that Philly and New York have made.
Yeah, and let's sit there and talk about, because there's a team, and Alex, I read your tweets and everything, Oklahoma City Thunder, okay? And, of course, they are the ones that went out and got Hartenstein. And you said it numerous times. They have all these they have more number one picks. Oklahoma City reminds me of the Celtics when we had all these number one picks and we traded and got pieces and moved pieces to get to where we were today. And what do you think that Oklahoma City Thunder can do, to speed up their timeline a little bit? Like they were number one in the West. Like they sit there and showed that they can do it, but they couldn't do it in playoffs. So, what are you thinking?
I think they're one piece away from being a real championship contender. Because you look at now, you're going to have Chet Holmgren and Hartenstein at the 4-5 down low. Hartenstein's not a floor spacer, but Holmgren is. You have SGA at the point. You have Jalen Williams at like the 3, more or less. I think all you're missing, because the rest of the team outside of that is young. If you can get a Jimmy Butler, maybe a Kevin Durant if they want to blow it up, or someone of that caliber, like a wing type player, I think that's the only piece that they're missing. Because, I mean, this is a young team that's going to grow, but like they look like they're ready to contend. And you have so many draft picks. You referenced the Celtics. The problem that Danny Ainge had at the end of his time here is that everybody knew the Celtics had that many picks that they couldn't use. and that so they were trying to overcharge the Celtics. Danny Ainge has to win the trade. Brad Stevens will trade things that on the surface people are like, oh, the Celtics got fleeced, and then they look back at it like, how did the Celtics pull that off? Because Danny Ainge wanted the player, but he had to win the trade. Brad Stevens doesn't care about the optics of it. He wants the player that he wants, and he's going to go get him. I think Oklahoma City has all these picks. They can't use them because otherwise you're just going to end up doing drafting stashes or trading for futures down the road and getting cents on the dollar for it. I think this is the time to capitalize. I don't know how many picks they have left. If you can put together 3-4 first-round draft picks, go get KD. Go get I don't even know if they'd be interested in Donovan Mitchell, but him, Jimmy Butler, something like that. I think the Heat, for example, would be crazy to turn down 4 first-round picks for Jimmy Butler because you really think Jimmy Butler is getting you a championship this year. And if he's not, are you re-signing a 36-year-old Jimmy Butler to a long-term deal, and is that going to help you win a championship? You bring him over in OKC, now you have SGA, you have Jimmy Butler, you have Chet Holmgren, you have Jalen Williams, you have Hartenstein. That's a real team that can compete for a championship. Getting veteran presences in there. So I think in the West, Oklahoma City, depending on what they do, they could be right back at the top again. They're a competitive team for sure. I think the Clippers took a huge hit, losing Paul George, and they didn't really replace him with anybody. It's hard to replace him. I think Denver losing KCP after losing Bruce Brown last year, they're very, very thin. They don't really have a bench now. So I think Denver went down. So I think Minnesota's a team to beat currently in the West, but I think Oklahoma City's right on their heels.
Yeah, and Minnesota, they went and signed another big guy, Luke Garza. So
that's a bench level player.
Yeah, that's a bench level player, but it also gives them another big guy where they can run a big man lineup if they want to. It's crazy how big the front of the Minnesota Timberwolves actually is.
I think the big problem for Minnesota that they had last year is scoring. Now, obviously you have Anthony Edwards, but it's elite shooting. They have Karl Anthony Towns, Jaden McDaniels, streaky. I think they could use another shooter. A Klay Thompson would have been perfect for them. He's gone, but even someone to a lesser extent, I have to see who's still available out there, but some type of 3-and-D shooter, because they have guys, they're big defenders. They're a really tough defensive team. Their problem at times was scoring, especially when they would start doubling Anthony Edwards. And if Karl Anthony Towns wasn't hitting his shot, because Rudy Gobert is not an offensive threat. So when you'd have him on the floor and you'd have Mike Conley on the bench, it got really tough for them to score. So if I was a Timberwolves fan, I wouldn't mind getting, another scorer. It doesn't have to be a starter, but maybe a 6-man type of role. Maybe they can go get Malcolm Brogdon now to come off the bench because he just got traded to Washington, and I don't see that team looking to compete. So maybe they can throw something over at them. They look like they're just happy to collect picks right now. Or maybe go sign Lonnie Walker, a scoring guard off the bench. So every team's just looking to compete right now. But, we're in a very fortuitous position, the Celtics. And we don't have to really do anything right now. Bring back Tillman and Brissett if we can. Otherwise, you can find a ring-chasing vet to come in to give some minutes. But the Celtics are set, and that's what's most important to us.
Yeah. What are the chances you think with KD would return to OKC?
I don't know how open he'd be to it, but I don't think that team in Phoenix is winning anything. The owner, Matt Ishbia, seems to think they are, but they're going to run back the same team that was not good enough last year. Now Bradley Beal's a year older, Kevin Durant's a year older. Book's in his prime, but that team just wasn't good enough last year. They were lucky to be in the seed they were last year, which was the 6th seed, and they got crushed in the first round by Minnesota. I don't see any reason to think they'll be more competitive. So unless they can figure something out, because they have no first for the next 7 years. They have no bench. They have no cap space. They're kind of in a really bad position. What they really should do is blow it up to the studs. I don't know what, if anything, you can get for Bradley Beal, but Kevin Durant, if you can get minutes, because like I said, OKC can't use those picks. If you can get 4 or 5 picks for Kevin Durant, they should definitely do that because Phoenix would give him something to start over with. For Oklahoma City, you have so many picks anyways, and Kevin Durant on that team, they're the favorites in the West probably. So I would definitely do it if I was both sides. And then, if they really wanted to blow it up, Devin Booker would bring back a huge draft haul as well. So if you just really wanted to go down to the studs, Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, you probably get 9-10 draft picks between them. And that's a team that does need first since they don't have any. So, maybe that's Miami makes a call over there for KD, or like I said, Oklahoma City, like teams that just really need to go for it, like that have draft assets. Because I don't think Phoenix is competing anytime soon, and that's with their super trio that they have there.
Who do you think makes more sense for OKC to make a call? Jimmy Butler down in Miami, KD in Phoenix.
I mean, I think Kevin Durant, just due to the history that he has there, and I think he's more reliable than Jimmy Butler. But I mean, either one of them would be great. I think Jimmy Butler would probably cost less of a haul. And I think Jimmy Butler really wants to stay where he's at, where I don't know, Kevin Durant wakes up every morning and he wants to be traded. Like he has a new feeling. So I think Kevin Durant actually might be more likely, but we'll see. I think Pat Riley's hell bent on he likes his team and they're good enough as they are, even though they aren't. So I think Kevin Durant would be more likely, but I guess we'll see how it unfolds. It's only been 24 hours since the free agency period has started. So, we got a long summer ahead of us. Fortunately for the Celtics, we've already done all of our shopping, so we really don't have to worry. It's like minor stuff. The only thing really to worry about is Tillman and Brissett. I think Brissett, he said on the Brissy Files, like his YouTube channel, like he was talking about next year. He's like, oh, when we do the parade next year, we got to go around twice because I feel like, we deserve that. But the rumors are coming out that, like, he wants to play a bigger role on the Celtics. Maybe during the season he would, but, like, in the postseason, he's really not going to have the role he wants. Great locker room guy, but maybe he leaves. Tillman, someone could throw more money at, although I think during the season he would have a bigger role due to, Al, you're saving his minutes, and then KP isn't going to be playing the first, 2 months, and then even after the fact, you're going to have to kind of baby him throughout the season. So I'd love to see both of them back. I hope we bring at least one of them back, but that's really only drama left in the Celtics offseason, which is, a great position to be in.
Yeah, so I guess the biggest piece to fall yet, like you mentioned, is Donovan Mitchell. So we're going to sit there and talk about this real quick, and then we're going to wrap things up. Where do you think that does he stay in Cleveland? Does somebody make a phone call? And, because they don't do sign and trades in the NBA, do they?
Yeah, you absolutely can. But the teams would have to be now. They can't be over the second apron. Then you can't do it. But if you would have asked me a month ago, I would have said he's out of Cleveland. Like Miami was the big name you were hearing, but then recently you've been hearing things like he's pretty much it's done deal that he's going to stay in Cleveland. But if that was the case, why didn't he sign right away like all the other players have? So by the time someone of you may be watching this, he may already be staying in Cleveland. But you could also, what is he looking for as well? Because he's like Jason Tatum's age, so he's kind of on a similar timeline. So it's like, yeah, if I sign the next 4 or 5 years in Cleveland, sure, I could request a trade in a year or two. And with today's NBA, he'll probably get dealt and, just get your money now. But if he's in Cleveland with that team, they're not realistically winning the conference. They're not winning a championship. So he'll get his money. They'll be a playoff level team. If everything breaks right, maybe they make a conference finals. But I just don't see that team winning. So you could look at a situation like Miami where it's like, okay, look, Jimmy Butler's not staying long term. We might as well just go all in to see if we can get him some help. You put, Donovan Mitchell down there with Bam Adebayo and Jimmy. Even if Jimmy regresses or eventually leaves, you have a pairing of Bam Adebayo and Donovan Mitchell who are the same age, same timeline. You can build around that, I think it's worth it for the Heat to go all in to get him if he doesn't stay in Cleveland. Ultimately, I think he's going to sign in Cleveland, but I think if he doesn't, I think Miami's the most realistic option, and it makes all the sense in the world for him. Go trade Hawkins, go trade Tyler Hero, go trade, Nikola Jovic, maybe one of the first pick that they got this year. Like, he's worth going all in for, because if you don't really have a path, that at least gives you a better chance this year. Maybe there's injuries in the East. Like, you have star power at that point. You can realistically say, okay, we have a chance. I don't think their team right now has a chance, but I don't think Cleveland has any chance with Mitchell. So maybe if he goes and they start making other moves to rebuild.
So, last question for you, Alex. Did you get Tatum his championship bandana?
I did not, because I can't find one. So if anybody's watching out there, if you know a link, I even shot a message to the Geo Made It guy, since who makes all the apparel, and asking if he made it. I'm just waiting to see what he said. I have a lot of notifications I have to catch up on right now, but I haven't found one online. I've checked Amazon. I've checked all over the internet. So if you know where they are, or if you know how to custom make them, he would be happy to rock it. Otherwise, I have his old one hanging in my kitchen right now. I'm not sure if I should retire it, if I should put it on during the season or save it for the playoffs, but Tatum did his part. Very good boy, just sitting over there. So we got to get him one if he can find it.
Absolutely. So, Alex, any final thoughts you want to give to Celtic Nation?
It's just nice to wake up every morning and remind ourselves that, you know, the Boston Celtics are the world champions. We have our entire roster signed long term. Very thankful for Brad Stevens. Very thankful to be a Celtics fan. We're in very, very great position right now. Like, today's NBA, the new CBA, was designed to prevent what we have right now. Now, maybe it does prevent it long term, but like, you had to already have the roster. We couldn't acquire any of these guys right now. Like, we've drafted and developed and built the team around Tatum and Brown, made the right, you know, smart deals to get White, to get Horford back, to get Drew Holiday, to get Porzingis. We have the team, we have the squad. Most of them are young. Just blessed to be a Celtics fan, and you know, it's gonna be a long off season, I guess. I mean, luckily we played into late June. It's already July now. You have Summer League coming up. I'll actually be in Vegas during Summer League, so maybe I'll catch a game out there. You have the Olympics coming up. You know, you have August and September. Maybe the Red Sox will hang around, so it's something to watch. And then, you know, then in September, you already have media day, get into training camp, you have preseason games, and then we're back running again. And then we raise the banner in October. So it's a lot coming up.
Are you gonna be going there? Are you gonna try to get to the Garden?
That's my plan. Absolutely. I don't have tickets. I mean, they don't have tickets yet. You know, I'll have to check I'll probably buy the flight and request the days off of work, and then hoping that those prices aren't the same as the finals, because then maybe it's a little irresponsible. But if it's just like a regular playoff game price, then I might have to do it, because that's a lifetime experience, you know, seeing them raise the banner. I got to be in a watch party at the Garden to see us win banner 18, so I'd love to actually be in the Garden to see the banner get raised.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Alex, I want to sit there and thanks, for being on here, Dynasty Proud, episode 20. Guys, make sure you head on over to YouTube. Follow us at BSEN617. Also, follow us on Twitter, Dynasty Proud 18. Head on over. We're going to be having some merchandise drop for the Celtics.
We should make a Celtics championship dog bandana.
Well, we could. Let me sit there and talk to my person.
We already got a model ready to wear it, so
we can maybe. Hey, Gio's got the shirts down. Maybe for people, maybe we can sit there and hit the pets down. So great idea there, Alex. But guys, make sure you check us out. And until next time, this is Dynasty Proud.